Hello BL lovers, welcome back to my channel. This is the second part of the Flag Characters series, and in this video we're going to be looking at the yellow flags in BL series. Yellow flag characters are the tricky ones. They stand somewhere in between green flags and red flags. You can't really call them bad people, but you also can't fully say they're good either. They've got both sides in them, and that's exactly what makes them interesting. These are the characters who often spark debates in the fandom. Some fans argue they're sweet and misunderstood, while others swear they're messy and problematic. So today, we're diving into the yellow flags, the characters who keep us second guessing where they really belong. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 16. Willie from Pit Babe. Willie feels like a red flag at first, maybe even a black flag. He's messy, desperate, and gets himself tangled in situations that make you wonder what his true intentions are. But watching his story play out to the end shows something different. Willie isn't that cruel by nature. He's more of a man on a mission that is caught between survival and desperation for freedom. He pushes limits, but it's not because he wakes up wanting to be evil. The truth is, Willie is being used, and disobedience could cost him his life. That makes his character pitiful, hated by many, but still understandable. What makes Willie a yellow flag is exactly this contradiction, that he's capable of being evil but he doesn't really want to be evil. He hovers in that confusing middle ground where his choices make him dangerous at times, but his intentions reveal a man who's more trapped than truly toxic. Willie proves that not every character is as simple as a red or green flag. Number 15. Fee from Dead Friend Forever. Fee is one of those characters who should have been a green flag, but the fandom will probably never see him that way. He isn't capable of harming anyone directly, but he still went along with a brutal mission that ended in tragedy, costing the lives of both the innocent and the guilty. That choice alone keeps him far from being a safe character. Fee also carries the stain of betrayal. Even though his boyfriend cheated on him first, fans still condemn him for betraying in return. Add to that the way he tried to use Jin, knowing that he never wanted anything more than vengeance, and it paints him as suspicious, maybe manipulative even. But Fee isn't built out of evil. Unlike a true red or black flag, he still has a conscience. He knows what's wrong and right, and he has enough control not to fully cross over into destruction. That's what makes him a yellow flag. He's flawed, suspicious, and compromised, but not soulless. Fee stands in that messy middle ground, the character who could have been a green flag but lost himself along the way. Number 14. Fiat from Don't Say No. Fiat is the definition of a yellow flag: messy, insecure, and often manipulative, but never fully evil. He's the type of character who wants attention and validation so much that he sometimes sabotages his own relationships. Fiat has a tendency to lie, act out, or push boundaries when he feels threatened or unloved. That makes him hard to trust, and at times, even harder to root for. But Fiat is still vulnerable. He isn't cruel for the sake of cruelty. He's just a boy who doesn't know how to handle his insecurities. What makes him yellow instead of red is that he still learns, he still grows, and he still cares. His love may be messy, but it's genuine. And when he feels safe, he can be a good partner. Fiat proves that not every flawed character is toxic. Sometimes they're just learning how to love without losing themselves in the process. Number 13. Pete from KinnPorsche. Pete is one of those characters who often gets mistaken for a green flag because he is loyal, caring, and surprisingly soft in a brutal world. But that is not just how things work. Just because someone doesn't do harm does not mean he can't. Pete can't be considered a green flag because he is capable of being evil, even if he chooses not to be. The nature of his work forces him into situations where lying, manipulating, and even harming others can be necessary. And while he doesn't seem naturally inclined to cruelty, the truth is, Pete has the skill set and the mindset to play dirty or being cruel if he ever needed to. What saves Pete from being a red flag is that he doesn't lean into that side of himself. His compassion, his loyalty, and his sense of control keep him grounded. But the potential is always there. Pete is a proof that even the sweetest characters in BL aren't the greatest green flags, and that being capable of both make their love both strong and a little dangerous. Number 12. Lion from Cutie Pie. Lion is the perfect example of a yellow flag. He looks like the ideal man. He is wealthy, protective, and deeply devoted to his partner, but his love is built on control. Lion struggles with honesty. Instead of being open, he often hides behind half-truths, manipulating situations to keep things in his control. He isn't cruel by nature, but his way of showing love can feel suffocating because it's tied to authority and expectations rather than freedom. What makes him yellow instead of red is that his intentions are rooted in care. He truly wants to protect and cherish, but he doesn't always realize that his controlling ways can hurt just as much as they help. Lion is the type of lover who can make you wonder if you're really being loved or simply being kept. Number 11. Mew from Only Friends. Mew is one of those characters who seems innocent, soft, modest, and mostly moral, but the idea that he isn't capable of being dangerous is a mistake. Mew is very capable. He just chooses not to use that side of himself unless he's pushed, cross his path or piss him off, and you'll see another layer. He's capable of plotting, capable of vengeance, and capable of ruining things if he feels he's been wronged. What keeps him out of the red flag zone is that he doesn't go looking for trouble. He isn't the type to hurt for no reason you'd have to deserve it first. That makes him a fair character, one with a strong conscience, but it also makes him a yellow flag. Mew isn't a pushover, and he won't just let things slide. He can be as dangerous as he is kind, and that duality is exactly why he stands in the middle between green and red. Number 10. Cyrus from The Boy Next World. Cyrus is a complicated one. To many, he looks like a red flag. He is obsessive and manipulative, but the thing is, he isn't truly harmful or dangerous. Instead, he's a man trapped in his own head, living in a world of imagination and delusion that starts bleeding into reality. Cyrus's obsession with his longtime crush drives him to stage scenarios in his mind and even in real life, making him seem unstable. Naturally, that kind of obsession isn't healthy, and it creates an edge of danger around him. He lies, he manipulates, and he builds illusions. That all stems from his unhealthy obsession rather than a desire to destroy. What makes him a yellow flag is that he hovers right between harmless and unsettling. He isn't cruel, but his obsession makes him unreliable and unpredictable. Cyrus is the kind of character who makes you ask, is he just a lovesick dreamer with neuro issues, or is he someone who could cross the line? Number 9. Kiyoi from My Beautiful Man. Kiyoi is one of the most debated BL characters out there. Some fans call him toxic, others swear he's just misunderstood. Kiyoi is cold and dismissive, often belittling Hira and keeping him at a distance with harsh words. He lets Hira chase him, almost like he enjoys being in control of how the relationship moves forward. That controlling nature makes him look manipulative, and it's hard to root for someone who treats their partner that way. But at the same time, Kiyoi's feelings are real. He does love Hira deeply, and over time he proves it through loyalty and devotion. The problem is that his way of showing love is selfish, and it's never in a way that feels safe or gentle. Kiyoi isn't cruel enough to be a red flag, but he's far too complicated to be a green one. He's the perfect yellow flag, a lover who's genuine but flawed, who keeps you guessing if his affection is love or control. Number 8 and 7. Jack and Joker. Jack and Joker are one of those couples that sit right on the edge of red flag territory, but don't quite fall into it. Their relationship is complicated and hard to pin down, and that's exactly why they land here as yellow flags. Joker is passionate, but also manipulative. He gaslights and schemes, often stealing for validation, especially when it comes to issues with his parents. He's calculative and clever, but at the same time, he has a conscience. Joker isn't completely heartless. He can be surprisingly selfless, forgives easily, and when it comes to humanity, he actually shows restraint. In his relationship with Jack, he lets his guard down, though that doesn't mean he's suddenly a good guy. Jack, on the other hand, is the more grounded one. He's selfless and self-aware, genuinely cares for others, and is far less mean-spirited than Joker. But he isn't all innocence either. Jack is not the type anyone can push around, and he's definitely capable of being bad if the situation calls for it. Together, Jack and Joker are the perfect yellow flag couple. They're not fully good, not fully bad, but they acknowledge humanity above all else. Their relationship proves that love can be complicated without fully crossing into destruction. Number 6. Payu from Love in the Air. Payu is one of the most interesting yellow flag characters because he sits right in the middle of sweet and toxic. On one hand, he's supportive, caring, and genuinely shows up for the people around him. He can be controlling in ways that don't feel so harmless. Payu doesn't seem so toxic. He is protective, and sometimes it really is. Payu isn't a green flag because he's capable of being too controlling, but he isn't a red flag either because his love is real, his intentions are often good, and he does care. He's the classic yellow flag boyfriend, not perfect, not destructive, just a normal guy who could swing either way depending on the situation. And sometimes, those are the ones who make the most unforgettable partners. Number 5. Sand from Only Friends. Sand is one of those characters who refuses to fit neatly into a box. He isn't a saint, but he isn't a villain either. What makes him a yellow flag is that he's capable of manipulation, capable of being toxic if he wants to, but often, he chooses not to. Sand knows he has the ability to play dirty, yet most of the time he leans into his humanity. He supports his partner, he shows care, and he tries to stay away from the darker side of things. The biggest proof of his yellow flag nature is his dynamic with Ray. Their relationship is complicated, not something to be completely proud of. Sand tries to be supportive, but Ray brings out both his best and his worst. He's loyal and caring. Sand isn't good or bad, he's real. He's a yellow flag because his love is rooted in humanity, capable of swinging toward toxicity but also capable of staying gentle when it matters. Number 4. Nick from Only Friends. Nick is one of those characters who just doesn't fit the clean categories. He isn't good enough to be a green flag, and he isn't harmful enough to be a red flag. Nick is emotional, vulnerable, and he's sneaky when he doesn't get what he wants, but his sneaking is more about desperation. Even when he was hurt, Nick never chose to actively ruin anyone. Instead, he kept quiet, burning inside, holding on to his pain. That restraint keeps him out of red flag territory. But make no mistake, Nick is capable of being problematic too. It just seems like he often chooses to be the gullible one, letting himself get dragged into Boston's chaos rather than fighting back. That combination of quiet suffering and hidden potential for messiness is what makes him a true yellow flag. Nick isn't toxic, but he isn't safe either. Number 3. Nueng from Never Let Me Go. Nueng is a character who could be considered a green flag because he's loving and deeply devoted to his partner. But the more life shapes him, the more you realize he isn't as simple as that. Nueng truly loves with passion. He respects his partner, keeps promises, and shows a selfless side that makes him easy to admire. He seems too gentle to ever be considered toxic, but his insecurities quietly drive his other side out of him. Nueng doesn't seem capable of evil, but life has shaped him in ways that suggest he could be. His gullibility, his dependence, and his fear of losing love could make him cross boundaries he never thought he would. That doesn't make him red, but it takes him out of the green zone. Nueng is the perfect example of a yellow flag, a boy shaped by insecurity and circumstance. He isn't dangerous, but he isn't fully safe either. He's someone who could stay soft forever, or turn sharp if life demands it. Number 2. Style from the Heart Killers. Style is honestly a crazy dude. He's not a red flag in the sense of being fully evil or capable of, but he's far too manipulative and unstable to ever be a green flag. He might look like a free spirit on the outside, but his actions show something much chaotic. One of the biggest examples of his yellow flag nature is how he manipulated a man into falling in love with him for a car. That's not something a normal person would even think to do. But for Style, it was another mission to prove a point. He's unpredictable, and while he isn't purely evil, he's definitely not that much innocent. He'll gaslight and twist situations to suit himself. His intensity makes him dangerous in flashes, but not enough to put him in the red zone. Style is the definition of a yellow flag. He's proof that sometimes the scariest people aren't the obvious villains, they're the ones who mix madness with love and make it look almost natural. Number 1. Porsche from KinnPorsche. Porsche is a classic example of a yellow flag, but also full of love and loyalty. He isn't a red flag because his heart is genuine, but he isn't a green flag either. Porsche's love for Kinn is real and undeniable. He throws himself fully into protecting him, but he is also very reckless. He acts first and thinks later, and when emotions run high, he can cross lines. What makes Porsche such a yellow flag is that he can swing both ways. On his best days, he's the partner everyone would want. He's devoted and willing to risk it all for love. But on his worst days, his unpredictability make him just as destructive as he is supportive. Porsche isn't toxic enough to be red, and he's far too flawed to be green. He's the perfect yellow flag, a man whose love is powerful but never fully safe. These are some of the most complicated yellow flag characters in BL series. They're not perfect, but that's also what makes them so interesting and sometimes the best boyfriends. Let me know what you think about this video and who stood out to you. The next part is red flags, and you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.